is going to have to be cut because these deficits of $1 trillion, that's not sustainable. So something's going to have to either be cut or taxes are going to have to be raised.
Now, we've got a choice. We can keep on just borrowing and dump it on our kids. That's option number one.
We can take it from the wealthy and give it to everybody
else. We could have across-the-board tax cuts, tax hikes, what you just talked about.
Which is not income redistribution.
Well, but the problem is, if I am sitting pretty and you've got a waitress who is making minimum wage plus tips, and I can afford it and she can't, what's the big deal for me to say I'm going to pay a little bit more?
Because
that is neighborliness.
The American public have a right to know, because all of these things that are happening matter. The executive orders cannibalizing human beings for spare parts. The fact that he is turning us into a socialist nation, borrowing us into 3 generations from now. The question must be answered. Is this legitimate or is it not? And the fact that it's been hidden so long, the fact that he was not forthcoming as Senator McCain was and said, here's my birth certificate, here it is, take a look.
We have to face the probability that the pattern of events we're seeing comes from a purposeful intention to destroy the constitutional sovereignty of the American people.
Somebody, somewhere, at some court level, needs to have the courage to do what they're sworn to do, and that is uphold the Constitution. That's all we're asking.
Now, all Obama has to do, it's very simple. Just call up Hawaii or write a letter and say you're free to release all the documents you have on my birth.
On June 6, 2007, Obama's campaign was issued, upon their request, an official document called a Certification of Live Birth by the Hawaii State Department of Health. This document is known as a short form certificate. On the back of the form appears an official signed stamp by Alvin T. Onaka, the state registrar. Among other items, the document displays the child's name as Barack Hussein Obama II. Date of birth, August 4, 1961. City, town, or location of birth, Honolulu. Mother's maiden name, Stanley Ann Dunham. Mother's race, Caucasian. Father's name, Barack Hussein Obama. Father's race, African. Date filed by registrar, August 8, 1961. Hour of birth, 7:24 p.m. Island of birth, Oahu. Sex, male. The document also has a raised stamp from the registrar's office.
The editor of the popular website WorldNet Daily, Joseph Farah, is offering a $10,000 reward now, turning up the heat to anyone who can prove they were actually present at the birth of Barack Obama. So far to date, no hospital in Hawaii has come forward to claim Obama's birth. No doctor or nurse has come forward to say they were present or witnesses. For many, the questions over Obama's birthplace is not resolved.
Certificate of live birth has been created at the time the Obama administration, candidate Obama advanced that. I took it as a sign of a cover-up, because you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't go get a certificate of live birth unless there were a problem. The reason to get that certificate is you don't have the other evidence. You don't have the birth certificate. It was clear that the Obama camp had spent millions of dollars trying to make sure there was great concern about releasing documents. No one would release documents. I hired a private detective. We went to all of the hospitals in Hawaii that were claimed, that were in existence at the time and claimed that they may have been where Obama was born. We could obtain records from none of them. At the time, in 1961, and Hawaii, as you know, was just 59. 1959 was a state. So Hawaii was allowing people to come in and register births without necessarily having the proof or documentation that subsequently would be required.
The short-form document was publicly released on June 2008 by the Obama campaign, a year after it was issued by the Hawaii State Department of Health. Department Director Dr. Chiyomi Fukino said on Friday, October 31, 2008, that she and the Registrar of Vital Statistics, Alvin Onaka, have personally verified that the Health Department holds Obama's original birth certificate.
The governor was very angry because I stated the governor in Hawaii, who's a Republican, would not release the original birth certificate that they say they have on file. And Hawaii, the Department of Health that holds the birth certificate or says they have some records, won't show the public what those records are. The whole question could go away if President Obama would just say, okay, you all want to see the certificate? Here's my birth certificate.
The controversy continues because Obama's original actual birth certificate from 1961 has never appeared in public. The short-form certification of live birth, generated in 2007, came from a Hawaii State Health Department database. If the original long-form birth certificate existed, it would identify the name of the doctor who delivered the baby, the hospital where the baby was born, and other vital statistics such as size and weight of the baby, and additional information about the parent's residency status.
Had there been a hospital where Obama had been born, I'm sure that they'd have bronzed the delivery room by now and put a plaque on it.
How come we haven't seen any, feature stories about the doctor who delivered the President of the United States, the room where he was born? We've seen pictures of the exterior of this hospital. Why isn't the hospital using its public relations, department to bring attention to this facility?
Well, especially with all the attention on the issue. I mean, even the attending nurses at the hospital or the maternity ward nurses where Barack Obama's mother would have had to spend time after delivery could say, I was there at Barack Obama's birth. There's no one who's come forward from the medical community in Hawaii to validate that they were present or participated in any fashion in Barack Obama's birth. Well, that's again further evidence he probably wasn't born in Hawaii, because everybody else has come forward. You can think, we've got basketball coaches from Barack Obama was in basketball. We've got people from Chicago who were saying, they followed Obama's career or were in the legislature with him.
So there's not one living person that we've found who can testify with any authority that Barack Obama was actually born in Honolulu, but we do have an affidavit from a living person in Kenya who says she was there.
His grandmother.
Yeah.
Which should be a pretty legitimate or credible source. Questioned by the Anabaptist ministers under oath in an affidavit swearing she was President Obama's birth in Mombasa, Kenya. We don't have the school records. I got out of Indonesia the records from the schools Obama attended when he was about 6 to 10 years old, attending with his Muslim stepfather. And Obama was listed in those records as an Indonesian citizen and as Muslim. Now, did he have a passport from Indonesia? When Obama shows up at Occidental College, he ends up rooming with a group of Pakistanis. Now, did he register as a foreign student? The whole issue is, why can't we see the school records? What kind of scholarships did Obama get? Did he have a Indonesian passport when he traveled to Pakistan? I mean, these are fundamental records, and for someone who's President of the United States to stonewall and not release the fundamental records of their life history invites scrutiny, because these become mysteries that people will want to know the answers to.
People say, well, his mother was a citizen of America. The case closed. Enough, that alone, sir, shows that he's a U.S. citizen. Not the case, because according to the federal law, this is referring to births abroad, December 24th, 1952, November 13th, 1986, that the federal law at that time is this. If you have two parents who are American citizens, guess what? You're an American citizen, no matter where you're born. Okay, all right, we know that. All right, but if you have only one parent who's an American citizen, get a load of this, that they have to, at the time of your birth, that they have to have at least 10 years of residency in the United States, 5 of which happen to be after the age of 14. Barack Obama's mother, Stanley Dunham, is somebody who was 18 at the age of Barack's birth, not 19. People say, "Oh, you're nitpicking. Oh, that's the law is the law."
Why wouldn't Hillary Clinton have found out the truth about his ineligibility and used it against him in the campaign?
Hillary was raising these questions. She was asking around the edges about where Obama was born and what his parents were and what the heritage was. She tried it very early. And I think the reaction within the far left of the Democratic Party indicated she wasn't going to get very far with Democratic leftist voters pursuing that line. So she dropped it. There was a notice published in one of the Honolulu Advertiser, that this little 2 or 3 line notice of birth, and it listed an address. We went to that address, and the neighbors said they didn't remember any family living there with a African-American baby.
You mentioned factcheck.org, and one of the things